We need to have a quick look at stdio.h again before we can go any further. stdio.h contains all the prototypes for every function I've just mentioned, plus it contains a number of other things. It contains the definition of a file handle. Now, what's a file handle? Well, every file-based function that I've referred to, in other words, fopen, fclose, fprintf, fseek, fread, fwrite, every single one of them uses something called a file handle. A file handle is supposed to represent an open file. So what are all the things you can do to an open file? Well, you can read from it, you can write to it, and so forth. You can seek around inside it, you can close it. But you can't do that to a file unless you have a file handle. The only way you can get a file handle is by calling the fopen program. A file handle is actually a pointer to a structure. The structure is called file, F-I-L-E, in capitals. Notice that it's in capitals. It's a structure, but it's actually a typedef structure, so you don't have to use the word struct. You can just use the word file. This is how you might declare one of these handles. It's got to be a pointer. You can't just have the structure itself. Well, you can, but you're not going to be able to do anything with it. So you declare yourself a pointer to one of these things, and then you use that as the return value back from an fopen. We'll look at fopen in more detail in a moment, so don't worry about it just now. Once you've got the handle, you can then pass the handle into all the other functions like fread, fwrite, fseek, fclose, and they'll be able to do what they need to do with that handle. Okay, now stdin, stdout, and stderr are all file handles. That's all they are. They're just file handles. They are variables that have already been declared. They're like global variables. You can treat them as global variables, which is exactly what they are. And each of them is of type pointer to file. The only difference between these three file handles and other file handles is that these don't represent true files. They represent what you call special files, the keyboard and the screen. stdin represents the keyboard, stdout and stderr represent the screen. These three file handles are opened automatically for you at the beginning of the program. Whenever a program runs, it already opens those three for you. You can close them if you want, but you don't need to open them. Armed with this knowledge, let's now go and look at all the functions that we need to know about.